Own Way, the podcast with me, your host, Kori McClurg. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Jeffrey. This is awesome. You have a pretty spectacular story as far as getting out of your own way and totally reversing your health. I mean, like the headline is like you had diabetes, you lost like 200 pounds. I mean, and you've just totally reversed your trajectory of your health completely. That is just amazing. I
Thank
mean,
you so much. Yeah, I appreciate
yeah,
that.
yeah, that is just amazing. So I will kind of want to like back way up though and like start from the beginning. I mean, where did you grow up? Like, what did you eat, as a kid? Like, what was prevalent? How was your family healthy, not healthy? Like, what was the whole atmosphere as a kid?
What a great question. And going back, my childhood was absolutely, my parents never stopped me from eating anything that I wanted. There was never any barriers. I mean, everything, a lot of junk food, a lot of just, eating as much as I wanted to. I was heavy as a child all the way growing up. And I learned these really bad patterns. And I love my parents, but they taught me the wrong way
Mm-hmm.
to live and eat. And these patterns were ingrained in me. I mean, that's all I knew. So throughout my adulthood, I ate fast food, I ate bad things, I didn't exercise, and then it just I got bigger and I got bigger and I got bigger, and I used to get my mindset was, well, just go buy a bigger shirt. Let me just go buy a bigger shirt and I can eat more. And I know that's I'm telling on myself, but that's what we're here for, to be
Yeah.
transparent. I ballooned up. I was in a size 4X T-shirt, and then I was getting so big I was looking for five, and it was really bad. But but my mindset was still, this is normal. This is normal. This is the way it should be, right? It never clicked until around 2010. I was working in cardiovascular surgery. That's what I did for a living, and I ended up having three heart attacks, and I lived through that. And I'm blessed to say that I did. But I knew the symptoms of a heart attack from what I did as a living, and I literally walked myself into the emergency room with a massive heart attack, and I knew I was having it, and I told them I was having it.
Wow.
And so, working in heart surgery, I mean, I knew I've been in hundreds of surgeries over the years, and when they told me I had to go, I had five blockages, five, and I was facing death's door there, and just I was scared to death because I knew what was going to happen. I knew what was going to happen during the procedure, after the procedure, and I was scared to death. Sometimes knowing is not good, not knowing is
Right.
better. So, but after that's when they determined that I had type 2 diabetes. I had no idea I had type 2 diabetes.
Oh, wow.
It was in that moment. And but I had heart surgery. I recovered from that, but this is where it gets really hairy. I learned from it, and I knew I had type 2 diabetes, but I went after a couple of years. Went back into the same old habits, the same old thing. Back to the fast food, back to this, back to not worrying about it, and I got away with it for a while. For a while it was but then in 2017 I lost part of my left toe, and part of my left foot to diabetes. My first two amputations. Wake up call, major wake up call. I mean, you think heart surgery and heart attacks would be a wake up call,
Yeah.
but my point of the lore of the the addiction to food and the fast food
Right.
was too great. It just kept
Right.
controlling me. And so when I lost my toe and part of my left foot, I really dug in and started taking care of my diabetes. And I got my A1C. My A1C was over 15, which is 15 is the highest on the scale. Mine was at 18.
Wow.
It literally was at
Wow.
18. The doctor said he never seen it that way. And so but I dropped it from once I started, and this is where the change went. When I say dug in, this is why we're here. I just drew a hard line in the sand. And I mean, I made a vowed principle promise to myself. I quit eating anything that had a heartbeat. If it had, I know that sounds so silly and simple, but if it had a heartbeat, if it had a parent, mom and dad, I didn't eat it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, everything cut out. So
Now, I want to go back a little bit when before you had the heart attack or multiple heart attacks, what what were you doing for a living? I mean, I feel like a lot of people are in the same position. They're like, they feel really busy. And so, in addition to the addiction to the food, it's kind of, it's convenient, right?
absolutely, and it's a great question because at the time I was working in cardiovascular surgery on midnight shifts, so I'd work all night.
Mm.
And I was also selling real estate during the day, so I was sleeping 3 hours a day. There's a big thing. I mean,
Oh my
literally, I mean,
gosh.
2 to 3 hours a day is all I was sleeping. So I'd be out selling real estate all day, exhausted. And what's the easiest thing to do? Drive through McDonald's, drive
Yeah.
just or whatever that is. And you get so exhausted. I was very lackadaisical with my health, just haphazard. And that's what I
Wow.
was burning the candle on both ends. So yeah, it was definitely part of that as well. And my guard was down. I was exhausted. It was just easier to eat something simple for $1 and
Right.
bad than to
Yeah.
eat healthy, that kind of
Right.
thing. Yeah,
So after the heart attack, you said you kind of started paying more attention, and what were you doing then to help improve things?
after the heart attacks, started walking, started exercising, watching what I was eating, but I wasn't eating vegetarian or vegan at the time. I was just really watching it. I cut out the fast foods and I cut out the sodas. I cut out all of that bad stuff. And it made a difference. The exercise, the walking every day, really following that pattern. But again, I tell myself, and I even talk about it in my book that I wrote, is I was very transparent about my failures to myself, and that was the hard part. The hard part to face. I mean, I failed
Yeah.
myself, multiple times,
Yeah.
and that led me to losing the limb. Exactly.
Right. But it's, I mean, that's a hard journey. I mean, I feel like you feel like you failed yourself, but also, I feel like when you say that you're going to watch it, right? And you're going to start you're going to try to eat better, right? Whatever that means to people. You're still kind of constantly dipping your toe in that kind of like hyper palatable food, things that kind of keep you wanting it, kind of keep you addicted, so
Yeah,
you're constantly in this willpower battle of like, oh, I'm not supposed to have that, that's bad, but everything in you is telling you that you want that.
it's true. It's a battle. It's an absolute internal battle every single day. I mean,
Yeah.
every single day for me. I can't let my
Mm.
guard down, because you know I see what can happen. And when you lose a limb, I mean that's a definite wake up call to I don't want to ever go through it again. It was
No
a
kidding.
whole
Yeah.
tragedy.
I'm sure it was awful. I mean, even before you lost it, I can only imagine that was painful.
It was. It really was. I mean, the whole thing. I mean, I was getting affected by neuropathy in my limbs. The diabetes was just taking its toll on my. I was always exhausted. It was just a catch 22. Just a constant rotation of exhaustion, battling neuropathy, and health things going wrong, and I got sick of being sick. Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, right. And even now, with the heart, after the heart attacks, and you had 5 blockages. So what was the intervention for that?
Well, again, I had quintuple bypass surgery. I had heart surgery, and so after that was, blood thinners. Immediately was a lifetime of pills,
Yeah.
to keep blood thin, to keep blood flowing. And I've done really well since then. That as far as that
Yeah.
goes. But that little time frame between 2010 and 2017, I mean, for the first 3 4 years, yeah, I was really doing well, but then I slipped. Then I started slipping. And even though I wasn't eating horrible, I wasn't exercising. I was working. I just started being lackadaisical with it. I admit it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you said at some point, so the first amputation was in 2017. Is that right?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
it was actually I lost the toe and the part of the left foot in 2016. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that was the
And
that was,
then,
and then I started taking care of myself with the diabetes, really managing it. Got my A1C from 18 down to like 6.5. You know, and then but then again I got just kind of slipped away again, and then but it wasn't I didn't get it didn't get too out of control. But what happened was during that healing of that toe and left foot, there was one little tiny pinhole spot on my left foot that got some kind of bacteria in it, and it was a flesh-eating bacteria, and I ended up going septic, and that's how that transpired.
oh gosh,
Yeah.
that is just one, medical disaster after another. Oh my God.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, that's why I'm here. It's hard to admit, to your that you go through people. I mean, I'm sure there's hundreds of millions of people out there that do the same thing, but I actually, have used all this as a foundation for my life. To follow. Now all this is behind me, and I'm doing really well now. I feel good. And it all boils down to diet. It all boils down
Yeah.
to that.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and it
Yeah.
gets
You said you stopped eating anything with a heartbeat. Like how did you learn about that? What tipped you off to that?
It's so simple. While I was healing, I would watch a simple documentary called "What the Hell" on Netflix, and it was like it opened my. It was like somebody pulled back a curtain and said, "Here's your answer, right there." And I looked at my wife and I said, "I think this is what I got to do." Because everything in my life pointed toward how bad I've been, eating, how bad everything, my whole
Hmm.
physical self pointed to the bad decisions. So I said, this is where I need to be, and I drew a hard line in the sand and I started doing it. I gave it 2 weeks. I said I'm gonna give it 2 solid weeks, see what happens. And within 2 weeks, I lost like 10 pounds. It was like you know. And then I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, I'm on a roll. This feels good.
Right.
And I started building a habit of, eating the right things, uh, lots and lots of veggies. I never went hungry ever. You know,
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
eat more on vegetarian than I ever did. I mean, I really did. I was able to eat a
Right.
lot of food, and
Right.
take in a lot less calories, that kind of thing.
So what did your wife think about that whenever you're like,
She was all on board. She loved it, man. She's always kind of been that way anyway. My wife's really thin, and she's healthy, and she was all about it. Because it was like, wow, yeah,
that's
if I'm
great.
on board with me, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's great that she was supportive and already you know,
And I mean,
help.
we always have each other's back now. She knows.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So what, I mean, you did this 2 week, trial, right? And I mean, what were you thinking? What were you feeling when that was going on? Were you just like, I'll try anything, so it doesn't really matter, what things taste like, or was it hard?
It wasn't that hard actually because it was really simple. I mean, you have a choice: either meat, chicken, fish, whatever over here, and then you got. To me, I found it kind of refreshing to walk into a grocery store and not have to go toward the frozen foods or the whatever. I walked straight to the right. Usually the vegetables, right? And I had all this
Mm-hmm.
selection of food that I could eat, and it was very very liberating. Actually, it actually made me relax. Like I
Yeah.
could relax. Oh, I don't have to worry about it so much anymore. Now I can eat this and not have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't eat a lot of potatoes or a lot of starchy vegetables, but I mean, I was a lot of leafy greens, a lot of cucumbers, peppers for sure. Love those are like nature's fruit to me. They're so delicious and
Yeah.
nothing in them. So I really found that first 2 weeks was a habit forming thing. It started to build this habit of uh, I know what I can eat now. I have a direction, and now I can go toward that. And I can drive right past the fast food and know that that's a sick area. That will lead me to being sick again.
Yep.
And there
Hmm.
was I made that mental shift. I had to do
Right. Right.
it.
What about the rest of your family? What was their reaction to you changing?
major backlash. You know,
Sure.
oh,
Yeah.
I mean, just they didn't understand it. They did not
Yeah.
understand it. My children, my wife and I have 5 children together, and seven, 7 grandchildren. But at the time, I was really kind of shocked. They're like, he's never going to make it, or there's no way. I can't do that. I got to have steak. I got to have chicken. I got to have all this. But I stuck to my guns. Stuck to my guns, and it was worth it. I mean, everybody was watching weight fall off,
Yeah.
fall. It was just falling off. And
Yeah.
still, I mean, I'm a big guy, but I mean, like I say, I used to weigh 422 pounds. That was the biggest I ever was.
Wow.
And today I weighed myself and I was like 227. So,
Wow. So literally 200 pounds.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
A whole person. A whole person.
My wife doesn't weigh 200 pounds. So I've lost the
Yeah.
whole person. You're right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just amazing. And I mean, I can only imagine you just feel night and day different.
I think clear. That's one thing I realized too, and I want to talk about that. Is once I started, it didn't take, it didn't happen overnight. That after that first 2 weeks, 3 weeks in, 4 weeks in, I had more energy, way more energy. I slept better. I slept better, and I thought my thinking was just crystal clear. I mean, wasn't muddied. I wasn't fuzzy. And even today, I think I think clearly. I mean, I use it in my work, in my writing, my ghostwriting. I have to have that clarity in my mind,
Yeah.
and the only way to do it is to follow this lifestyle, and it now is a lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So talk about that a little bit. Where so you made a career change obviously somewhere amongst all of this. So how did that happen? And did having more energy allow you to do to make some changes?
Well, that's a great question. Again, it goes back to when I lost my left leg below the knee. I end up having 5 amputations. Again, I count the toe and the left foot. But then once I got really sick, they removed my foot, and I'm not trying to be graphic here on your show. They removed my left foot, and then they found more infection, so they ended up having to keep taking more of my leg.
Mm.
Finally, they stopped at the yeah, at my knee, which is great. But that's where it stopped. But it was in that moment of facing, and I know this sounds, but this is a part of me that I have to talk about with that. When I woke up to an empty sheet on the left side, and my regular leg on the right. I looked at that on the bed, and that was the visual that I had, and that was life changing. And I was very depressed. I couldn't move, I couldn't walk, I couldn't get up, I couldn't go to the restroom. I was helpless. I was helpless, and it was very scary. So during that moment, Kori, that's when I started journaling my thoughts. And I've always been a writer, but I never pursued it professionally. Always loved reading and all that through school and growing up, but I never thought about being a writer. Just never did. But in that moment, I started journaling my thoughts and what was going on inside me, and that turned into my first book. Now that first book was not very good, I admit it. But it was my book. It was something
Yeah.
that I did, and I was able to self-publish it, and it started to sell. That first book was called Limb Lost Life, and it was about it was like more like a memoir of that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And but then soon after, but while I was laying on the bed, laying there helpless, I mean, I had all this time to think. And without sounding cliche, I really did. I did soul searching. Like, all right, Jeff, what is it you truly want to do with your life? What is that one thing? And it was writing. It was what was in my head. And so again, I'm the kind of guy I like to draw a line in the sand with things. So I made a promise that I was going to do it, and so no matter, I didn't know how I was going to do that. I had no idea. I didn't have a plan. I just know that I was going to write. And then while I was healing, a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, approached me about ghostwriting a book for him. And I knew what ghostwriting was, but I never considered it, as a career. And so I said yes, and we sold that book right out of the gate to HarperCollins Leadership. That was the first one. I went from nobody writer to straight into the big five.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, but I say that with, man, I was scared to death. I mean, I was
Yeah.
Years and ages, and I mean, I was catapulted into this world that, whoa, and so I knew it was either make or break. I had to do it right, or I was going to, sink. But that book became a bestseller and started my career. So I look at my limb loss as a win. It's a win because I I see that it was if I didn't go through that, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now.
Right.
And so now I'm 9 years into it, almost 10 years as a ghostwriter, 37 books later, and again, it wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have gone through that. I don't want to go through that again, but but it wasn't. It was that life trajectory that everything. We all have moments in our lives that we see either things change or they don't. Heart surgery was one milestone, but then losing the limb was the moment of my life, the
Sure.
mirror moment. Yeah, the mirror moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I can only imagine. Like you said, it's very visual, right? Like there's no missing. I feel like your internal organs, you don't see it, right? There's things can be bad, but you're not seeing it. But once you've lost a limb, there's no denying it, right?
Absolutely, and I tell my family they always ask me about it. I guess it's very curious for them, but when I was coming out of anesthesia, it was the weirdest surreal moment because I was still in that daze, right? That fuzzy, and I felt my toes still wiggling.
Oh yeah.
I thought they had saved it somehow,
Hmm.
and I was happy. But then when I woke up and actually saw it, that's when the world hit in reality.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. God, that's amazing. That is just amazing.
Thank you.
So I mean, now that you're kind of on this path, I mean, first of all, I'm curious, what do you eat every day? What's kind of your normal go-tos?
Oh, I love it. Of course, my wife loves to make. She makes me, mushrooms and onions. We do a lot of stir fries. For lunches, I have like pita breads with stuffed with lettuce and just cucumbers, all the good stuff. And I love, like mustard and all that. I mean, it's all free. It's all free,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
tastes great. So that's what I really do. I've got myself in the habit of eating that every day. It's just we keep it in the house, and that's what I eat on. So yeah,
Yeah.
make it
Yeah, that's
simple.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do
it's
a lot of carb-free wraps and a lot of things like that. Yeah.
what is what do your doctors say about all this?
Well, they're very proud of me, and all my doctors have my books and everything. But it's especially about the diabetes because my diabetes is doing so well right now. I mean, it's just
Hmm.
honestly that's my everyday motivator to keep doing what I'm doing, eating my diet because um, there are days when families order pizza, whatever, and it's hard to. I mean, I might eat one slice or something like that or whatever, but it's hard because when I do, I always think about, all right, what are you doing to yourself? I have
Hmm.
that hard up. Like, all right, what's it going to do to you? And is it going to do this? Is it going to raise your? I mean, I'm always, but I'll be honest with you, my life's kind of like juggling oranges all the time, because you got to
Hmm.
think, do I eat this or do I not eat that or whatever? But that's why it makes it for me. Vegetarian is very simple. It's a very simple thing. I don't have to worry about that side of myself. I can just worry about the other things. And but my family, my doctors are very proud of me. My one doctor that took my limb, I just met with him a couple weeks ago, and he's like, you told me that I'm doing fantastic, and that makes it all worthwhile. You know,
Yeah.
physicians to be able to say, hey, this stuff works. This stuff actually works.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure he sees lots of people that don't make changes, right? And they keep coming back for more and more procedures and
Well, even when I was dealing with the wound, years ago, it was the same people in there every day fighting different things, but they were, and I was one of them. I mean, I'm not saying, oh, I was
yeah.
one. I
Hmm.
realized that one day sitting in the waiting room, I'm like, these are the same people that was here 6 months ago. These are the same people, you know, and yeah. So yeah, my doctor sees every day the same people that don't step up and take care of themselves. Doctors love when a patient actually listens. I've learned that
Yeah.
when a
Yeah.
patient listens, it makes their day. It makes them, mean, it's hard for doctors. I get that. I'm not a doctor, but I'm sure. I mean, seeing it every day, seeing how if someone was to just listen to their advice and they could change their life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure it gets very demoralizing just treating, the same people, the same,
Mm-hmm.
illness over and over.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, looking back on, the old you, what do you think is what 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 keeps people in that mindset? What keeps people, getting stuck and they just kind of keep beating their head against the wall? Like, what do you
Well,
think is going on?
I think there are a few factors. I think, honestly, it's more expensive to eat well. It is more expensive to eat well than it's cheaper to eat the bad food. It just really is. They make it harder. If you're whatever, if you're searching for something more organic or more natural, it's going to cost more. So I think about that might be a factor. I think also marketing, TV, it's very subliminal. It's everyone's subjected. No matter what, I can get in the car today, drive to the gas station. I can be pumping gas, and there's a video showing me that I
Hmm.
should go and get a burrito, or showing me I should go get this, and
Yeah.
people can't escape it. So it's very hard in today's society. Now, and back then, even it was so easy. Go to McDonald's and get a dollar cheeseburger, a dollar this,
Yeah.
dollar that, and it was a lot easier to do that and quicker. People now are everybody's rush, 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 fast, 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 and eating healthier takes a little more time, takes more, um, a little more energy and focus to make prepare something than it is to just run out and grab something. If that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think? Is that something that you see with you as well?
Yeah. I mean, I also think that we, yeah, you're surrounded by it, right? You're surrounded by crap food. I mean, I don't even call it food anymore. I mean, it's really not food. In my mind, it's not food, right? I don't look at that stuff as food because I would never consider eating it, so it's akin to like eating the dirt or a rock or something, to me. Um, but like, yeah, you're surrounded by it. And I think also that, like, what you experienced, I do think people are afraid. They're afraid of being different. They're afraid of, like, what is my family going to think? What are my friends going to think? Like, especially, I do think we all, most of us carry around some level of insecurity. And so here
Mm-hmm.
you are going to, like, put yourself out on a limb for something that you're not even sure about, like if you're just at that stage of, well, I want to try this, but I'm afraid, I'm afraid of what people are going to think about that.
That, man, that is you nailed it there. 'Cause that's when I started. Excuse me, when I started doing it, and I did that again. Like I said, I had backlash from my family. They didn't understand what this. I was going against the norm. I was going against the
Yep.
grain. What do you mean? What somebody in our family's eating vegetarian, not eating hot dogs and hamburgers and steak and chicken?
Right.
What, I don't. We don't understand that, you know. And
Yep.
I mean, I was really shocked. Like
Yep.
I didn't really even really see it coming. Like I can't even believe it. Why is everyone in my family, my children, so worried about this? You know?
Yeah, especially after everything you'd been through. I mean,
Yeah.
I would have thought that really would have, that they would have been clamoring for you to try anything at that point. Please just get healthy.
You're right. It's funny. I was talking to my daughter yesterday, and she has lost a lot of weight, and she is eating the way I'm eating now.
Hmm.
She loves it, but we were discussing it that she was afraid, for her friends. I mean, my daughter's 28. She's a teacher, and she has a son, my grandson. But before that, she was really heavy. She said I never even really realized it.
Yep.
Your kids in a certain way. She said she ballooned up to like 320,
Hmm.
and I'm like, I didn't even realize you were that. I just didn't realize.
Right.
She
Right.
was eating pizzas and eating all this junk and just and she said, Dad, but now it started taking an emotional toll on her. Like she was
Yeah.
depressed. She didn't want to go out. She didn't want anybody to see her. She said she would go hide in the car and sneak and eat cheeseburgers so no one could see her. And realized she knew she had a problem. And then she said, this is where the moral of my story here is She's like, Dad, I started thinking about you. She said, you went through heart attacks, you got diabetes, you lost your leg. She said, I don't want to be that. And I said, good. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
I don't want my child to go through that. And
Right.
ever. And I said, I'm so glad you're on this path. And now she's lost like 60 some pounds.
That's
Just
great.
switch.
Yeah.
So it makes me feel good as a father that what I'm doing influenced a child,
Yeah.
and to better themselves now than 40 years later and they're too late. Not saying
Yeah.
it's never too late, but I'm saying like she's catching it now, and I love it.
Right.
So,
Yeah. No, it's true. I find that people, it's not your intention necessarily when you start down that path. Your intention was just to save your own life, but then you really are the ripple in the pond, right? Like once you show them that it's possible, nothing bad happened, you didn't lose all your friends, everybody still loves you, but now you can do things with them.
that's right,
Uh,
exactly. And
yeah.
I didn't realize I was even having that influence. You're right. I was saving my own
Yeah.
neck, but it
Yeah.
did, and actually it hit home. And we just talked about this last night. It's so
Yeah.
great to have that conversation. So.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. So what's next? Continue writing books and what else?
That's honestly, yes. Continuing writing books. I love what I do. I truly, I'm passionate about it. I love helping authors see their books come to the world. It's something that because you know it's writing a book or helping someone with their book or book doc, whatever that is. Whether my name's on it or not, it's still a part of my legacy. It's part of something I did that
Yeah.
my kids and grandkids can say my papa or my dad was involved in that. When
Yeah.
I'm long gone. So I take every project 110%. I give it 110%, and that's just who I am. And by this conversation, I hope anyone's listening can understand that that's who Jeff Mangus is. I'm a draw a line in the sand and then I go for it. I don't procrastinate. I don't dawdle. I don't make
Yeah.
excuses. I just go.
Yeah.
And that's the part of me that I like, that I really have
Yeah.
come to enjoy. So I have my
Yeah.
faults like everybody else, but I know when I put my mind to things, I do it. So yes, moving forward, hopefully writing a lot of books, helping a lot of authors throughout and keep going with the weight and the weight loss and I want to increase my exercise now. I want to do some more. I live in Florida now, so I'm able to year round do more things. Where I lived before in West Virginia, I was limited to where we were,
Yep.
and I was limited to exercise, and so now I'm down here. I'm able to go for walks and do my thing and
That's
enjoy.
fantastic. Yeah. So prosthetics all working well and you're able to, walk as much as you want to and
Absolutely. I just got a new prosthetic leg, and because I'm doing really well, they just made a brand new leg for me. And if you were to see me stand, if I walk, you would never. If I have pants on, you never know I have a prosthetic. You never know it.
that's
I don't have a
that's
gait.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and when I did that, I will say this is something I'm very proud of. I never had any physical therapy, not one day, not one.
Really?
That, that's the truth. Not one single second
So
did
you
anyone.
just put it on and went.
When they made the first leg for me, I walked into their office. Well, I rolled into their office in a wheelchair.
Right.
And yes, they made it for me. They put it on. I walked through I have a video of this, a video proof. Walked through the rails 3 times, and then I just let go, and I was walking after like 4 months, and yeah, and I literally walked out of there, just walked right out.
Wow.
And my wife's like, I can't believe you just walked out of there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know, I did, didn't I? I didn't even realize I was just like,
Right.
and I haven't stopped since. Yeah,
That's fantastic. I'm sure that was so liberating to feel like you were free again after not being, you know,
I cried. I
I'm
sobbed.
sure.
I did. I
I can
sobbed
only imagine.
after being in a
I can.
wheelchair and knee scooter and being helpless. Going back to that moment of laying in the bed helpless to being able to walk out of there, out of that office. The sun was shining, and I mean, but I literally when I walked through the rails there, in the video I did. I started crying uncontrollably. It all just come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I can only imagine. Yeah, just all the stress that had built up from all of that. Yeah, God, I can only imagine that. Yeah,
Yeah. Thanks for asking about that. It means a lot. Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, and it's kind of akin. I mean, it's sort of like you were saying with diet, like like it, like the stress comes off. Like you said, you like I know what I'm doing, and like I don't have to think about it anymore. Like I put my leg on, I don't have to think about it anymore. I just go and do, and it's freeing.
It's freeing. I love
Yeah,
going to the grocery store because we know where to go. We know what we get. I know what I eat, and it's a part of my life I don't have to worry about anymore. I don't have to
yeah,
think about it, you know.
yep,
And I know when I'm eating and when I'm enjoying the meal with my family, I know that I'm not hurting myself. I know that.
yep,
That's
right,
the best part, you know. I think that's the biggest payoff, honestly.
yeah,
And just the whole thing with understanding this. I hope anyone listening to this show can at least give it a try. If you're here and you're testing the waters, I urge you to do it. I urge you to
yeah,
try it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, man, you give me goosebumps. That is just so awesome. Like that you're just totally turned it around and like, you're just I
Well,
mean literally free. You're just free of all of the your of the encumbrances of being unhealthy, and it's just amazing.
I tell you, I know this sounds silly, but I love every day getting up knowing my clothes are going to fit. I know that, you know what I mean? Like I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and I go to the store and buy clothes, and I know what size I wear. I don't have to worry about it. It's just going to fit. It's going to be terrible. I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
It frees up so many things, and I think it's opened up my mind to other things since I don't have the worries of this. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that's my whole premise, right? Like I feel like so many people are just so caught up in unhealthiness, and it just consumes so much of your mental energy, if not your actual time and energy during the day, because you're doing if you're diabetic, you're taking blood sugar and you're how much insulin do I need right now, or if you're you've got heart disease, then you're like worn out walking across the room. I mean, it's just so much energy is consumed with that, and you put it perfectly. Like once you're free of that, you have so much mental space for the stuff that you want to do.
That's exactly right. I mean,
So,
it's liberating. Again, that's why I've chosen this lifestyle because it is. It's I love that freedom of not having to worry about that. I just love
yeah,
it. You know,
yeah,
and I know what foods to go to now. I've tested the waters. I know what I know where the safe zones are. I know where the danger zones are. I stay and I'm not saying it's if you step into the danger zone, it's okay if you have it. If maybe once a month or whatever, but never go back to that day to day thing. Never.
yeah, right, right. Yeah, gosh, well, that is just amazing. So, thank you so much for telling your story. I mean, that's just, I think it goes a long way for people to understand what's possible.
Yeah,
So,
thank you for having me on your show. It really means a lot.
yeah.
And if there's anybody has any questions, you can I mean, sure you can share my information, and I'll be glad to help them. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's awesome. Thank you so much.